Looks like my webcam is going to have focusing problems, but I want to welcome everybody. I haven't done a bedtime story in a long time, and I found the book that I'm going to. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to read the story of. Oops. Tsul'kalu, the slant-eyed giant. And that will be my bedtime story tonight. Let me get over into the YouTube so I can see the chat. How's it going, everyone? Hi, Cold Warrior, and hey, Bigfoot Sasquatch Outlaw. Everybody go subscribe to him. He's a Bigfoot researcher, fellow Squatcher. Welcome to the Squatch Zone's bedtime story. And I'll sit here and fiddle around a minute, while everybody gets in here. Got quite a few popping in. I want to say hi to everybody, Edo and Cold Warrior, and Jan and Connie and Kathleen and Rex. Howdy, how's it going? All of you. Yeah, I don't know. I've been getting this question, people have been asking me, how do you chat? I don't know. I don't know how you chat. So, if anybody knows, I think you have to be logged into YouTube, right? You have to be logged in to your YouTube, and then the chat box should be there, and you just chat, right? Hi, Pocket Pro and Jerry and Winter and Odie. Yeah, so for anybody listening out there and the chat's not working for you, I have no idea why it doesn't work. But if you're logged in to your YouTube channel, the chat should be automatically there for you. And that's all I know, Oh, I see. Okay, so if you make the video big, then you lose the chat box, right? I know there's a way that you can even make the chat box, pop out, right? I'm not sure, though. But I think, and I don't know how it works on cell phones. So, I think there's a chat on cell phone too, but don't quote me because I have no idea, Yeah, I'm coming on on a little off a little bit. I didn't want to come in too early, and then I didn't want to come in too late either. And then I thought, man, I'm going to make some coffee, and then I'm going to turn the light low, for a bedtime story. And the coffee's delicious. But okay, so while I'm telling the story, I'm probably not going to pay attention to the chat, if that's okay with you guys, okay? That way I could keep my mind, maybe I might stop every so often and maybe we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in the story. But it's up to you guys. Do you want to hear the story straight through and then we'll talk about it after in the chat? Or do you want me to stop, as things progress through the story? Because it's an interesting story. I mean, I think I've told it on a bedtime story before, but it was from my memory, not from actually reading it. And the book is big, man. It has lots of stories. Not all of them are Bigfoot, but there's a lot of cool stories. And if I find any more in here, I'm going to tell those as Bigfoot too. Or, not Bigfoot, but I'm going to tell those stories as well. There's a creation story in here that's pretty good. And if Uncle Roy is watching, I want to thank you for the book, Uncle Roy. Thank you so much. I read it all the time. Well, I was reading it until it got packed away, and then today we're remodeling this room, so I ran into it And I was like, oh man, I'm going to do a Bigfoot story, bedtime story. Oh man, I'm so happy. Hi, Pam. Okay, so all the way to the end. There's quite a few in here, and then this is going to save as always, so anyone can come back and listen to it, or the ones that can't listen to it live, they'll be able to listen. And then when I get done with the story, we'll talk about it a little bit, because there's some interesting things in here, and I'll let you guys ask questions about the story, and then we'll just see how that develops. Okay. Okay, so this is the story of Tsul'kalu, and I hope I'm not murdering that too bad. And it starts, a long time ago, a widow lived with her one daughter at the old town of Kanuga on Pigeon River. The girl was of age to marry, and her mother used to talk with her a good deal and tell her she must be sure to take no one but a good hunter for a husband, so that they would have someone to take care of them and would always have plenty of meat in the house. The girl said such a man was hard to find, but her mother advised her not to be in a hurry and to wait until the right one came along. Now the mother slept in the house, while the girl slept outside in the Aussie. One dark night, a stranger came to the Aussie, wanting to court the girl. I have like a shadow in the middle of my book. So one night, a dark stranger came to the Aussie, wanting to court the girl, but she told him her mother would let her marry no one but a good hunter. Well, said the stranger, I am a great hunter, so let him come. So she let him come in, and he stayed all night. Oh, he stayed all night. Just before day, he said he must go back now to his own place, but that he had brought some meat for her mother, and she would find it outside. Then he went away, and the girl had not seen him. When day came, she went out and found there a deer, which she brought into the house to her mother, and told her it was a present from her new sweetheart. Her mother was pleased, and they had deer steaks for breakfast. Yum. He came again the next night, but again went away before daylight, and this time he left 2 deer outside. The mother was more pleased this time, but she said to her daughter, I wish your sweetheart would bring us some wood. Now wherever he might be, the stranger knew their thoughts. So when he came to the next time, he said to the girl, Tell your mother I have brought the wood. And when she looked out in the morning, there were several great trees lying in front of the door, roots and branches and all. The old woman was angry and said, He might have brought us some wood, but some wood that we could use instead of whole trees that we can't split, to litter up the road with brush. The hunter knew what she said, and the next time he came, he brought nothing. And when they looked out in the morning, the trees were gone, and there was no wood at all. So the old woman had to go after some herself. Almost every night he came to see the girl, and each time he brought a deer or some other game, but still he always left before daylight. At last her mother said to her, Your husband always leaves before daylight. Why don't he wait? I want to see what kind of a son-in-law I have. When the girl told this to her husband, he said he could not let the old woman see him, because he would frighten her. She wants to see you anyhow, said the girl, and began to cry. until at last he had to consent, but warned her that her mother must not say that he looked frightful. And there's a Cherokee word there, uska se tiu. I think that's what it means, or says. The next morning, he did not leave so early, but stayed in the Aussie, and when it was daylight, the girl went out and told her mother. The old woman came and looked in, and there she saw a great giant with long slanting eyes, Tsul'kalu, lying doubled up on the floor with his head against the rafters in the left-hand corner at the back, and his toes scraping the roof in the right-hand corner by the door. She gave only one look and ran back in the house crying, Uska tsi you, or, he's terribly ugly. I guess that means. And Tsul'kalu was terribly angry. He untwisted himself and came out of the Aussie and said goodbye to the girl, telling her that he would never let her mother see him again, but he would go back to his own country. Then he went off in the direction of Tsungunyi. Soon after he left, the girl had her monthly period. There was a very great flow of blood, and the mother threw all of it into the river. One night, after the girl had gone to bed in the Aussie, her husband came again to the door and said to her, "It seems you are alone," and asked where was the child. She said there had been none. Then he asked where was the blood, and she said that her mother had thrown it into the river. She told just where the place was, and he went there and found a small worm in the water. He took it up and carried it back to the Aussie, and as he walked, it took form and began to grow, until, when he reached the Aussie, it was a baby girl that he was carrying. He gave it to his wife and said, "Your mother does not like me and abuses our child. So come, let us go to my home." The girl wanted to be with her husband, so after telling her mother goodbye, she took up the child and they went off together to Tsungunyi. I think I'm saying that. Sunigunyi or Sunigunyi. I'm butchering these poor Cherokee words. I am so sorry. I'm going to learn the language now just because of that. Now the girl and her older brother, who lived with his own wife in another settlement, when he heard that his sister was married, he came to pay a visit to her and her new husband. But when he arrived at Kanuga, his mother told him his sister had taken her child and gone away with her husband. Nobody knew where. He was sorry to see his mother so lonely, so he said he would go after his sister and try to find her and bring her back. It was easy to follow the footprints of the giant, and the young man went along the trail until he came to a place where they had rested, and there were tracks on the ground where a child had been lying and other marks as if a baby had been born there. He went along the trail and came to another place where they had rested, and there were tracks of a baby crawling about and another laying on the ground. He went on and came to where they had rested again, and there were tracks of a child walking and another crawling about. He went on until he came where they had rested again, and there were tracks of one child running and another walking. Still he followed the trail along the stream into the mountains and came to the place where they had rested again. And this time there were footprints of two children running all about, and the footprints can still be seen in the rock at that place. Twice again he found where they had rested, and the trail led up the slope of Tsungunyi. Yeah, wow. and he heard the sound of a drum and voices as if people were dancing inside the mountain. Soon he came to a cave-like doorway in the side of the mountain, but the rock was so steep and smooth he could not climb up to it, but could only just look over the edge and see the heads and shoulders of a great many people dancing inside. He said he saw his sister dancing among them and called her to come out. She turned when she heard his voice, and as soon as the drumming stopped for a while, she came out to him, finding no trouble to climb down the rock, and leading her 2 little children by the hand. She was very glad to meet her brother, and talked with him a very long time, but did not ask him to come inside, and at last he went away without having seen her husband. Several other times her brother came to the mountain, but always her sister met him outside, and he could never see her husband. After 4 years had passed, she came one day to her mother's house and said her husband had been hunting in the woods nearby, and they were getting ready to start home tomorrow. And if her mother and brother would come early in the morning, they could see her husband. If they came too late for that, she said they would find plenty of meat to take home. She went back into the woods, and the mother ran to tell her son. They came to the place early the next morning, but Tsul'kalu and his family were already gone. On the drying poles, they found the bodies of freshly killed deer hanging as the girl had promised, and there were so many that they went back and told all their friends to come for them, and there were enough for the whole settlement. Still, the brother wanted to see his sister and her husband, so he went again to the mountain, and she came out to meet him. He asked to see her husband, and this time she told him to come inside with her. They went in as through a doorway, and inside he found it like a great townhouse. They seemed to be alone, but his sister called aloud, "He wants to see you." And from the air came a voice, "You cannot see me until you put on a new dress, and then you can see me." "I am willing," said the young man, speaking to the unseen spirit. And from the air came the voice again, "Go back, then, and tell your people that to see me, they must go into the townhouse and fast 7 days, and in all that time they must not come out from the townhouse or raise the war whoop. And on the 7th day I shall come with new dresses for you to put on so that you can all see me." The young man went back to Kanuga and told the people they all wanted to see Tsul'kalu, who owned all the game in the mountains. So they went into the townhouse and began to fast. They fasted the 1st day and the 2nd day and every day until the 7th. All but one man from another settlement who slipped out every night when it was dark to get something to eat and slipped in again when no one was watching. On the morning of the 7th day, the sun was just coming up in the east when they heard a great noise like the thunder of rocks rolling down the side of Tsul'kalu. I think that means a mountain. They were frightened and drew near together in the townhouse, and no one whispered. Nearer and louder came the sound until it grew into an awful roar, and everyone trembled and held his breath, all but one man, the stranger from the other settlement, who lost his senses from fear and ran out of the townhouse and shouted the war cry. At once the roar stopped, and for some time there was silence. Then they heard it again, but as it were going farther away, and then farther and farther, until at last it died away in the direction of the mountain. I'm going to say that instead of saying that word. Okay, and then the people came out from the townhouse, but there was silence, and they could see nothing but what had been 7 days before. Still the brother was not disheartened, but came again to see his sister, and she brought him into the mountain. He asked why Tsul'kalu had not brought the new dresses as he had promised, and the voice from the air said, I came with them, but you did not obey my word, but broke the fast and raised the war cry. The young man answered, It was not done by our people, but by a stranger. If you will come again, we will surely do as you say. But the voice answered, Now you can never see me. Then the young man could not say any more, and he went back to the Kanuga. And that's the story of Tsul'kalu. I guess from that point on, nobody could see him. So I thought that was pretty good. I'm sorry I butchered to all my Cherokee friends and family. I'll learn to say those words and do it right, and maybe do a redo on this one day, because I really did do a terrible job on the words. Yeah, that's a Cherokee story. It came out of this book. I listed it underneath in the I don't know what it's called, where I can make a comment or a statement. And I got this book when I was over with my wife visiting her relatives, and it was in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. And we were looking at all the paintings and everything that their grandpa has painted, and he has them hanging everywhere in all their casinos and their tribal offices, everywhere. I mean, just a whole bunch of really nice paintings. And they had a gift shop. They had a buffet and a gift shop. So we ate at the buffet, and then we went into the gift shop, and her uncle pulled this book out, and he said, everything you want to know about the Cherokee history is in this book. And it's a pretty good book. I mean, most of it is all stories and the history of, it has everything, the Trail of Tears, the first white man, all kinds of things. And in the back, it has all the medicine, the recipes for the medicine and everything. So it's a good book. It has a lot in it. I haven't read the whole entire thing, but I've read quite a bit of it. And some things I read over and over. I mean, there's some real interesting, funny, cool stories in there. Okay, let me see. Is there any questions? I think you can get it online. I'm pretty sure. I bought one for my doctor. My doctor is a Creek Indian, and I was sharing the stories with him, and I guess they don't have a book like this. So and it had all the medications, and he's homeopathic. He's a DO doctor. So it has all these recipes in it, or sacred formulas is what they call it, for any kind of cure or healing and stuff like that. So I went online and I bought it for him, and I think it was around $24 or something like that a couple of years ago, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, what was your question? I probably have to roll back. Any sightings on LI? Oh, Long Island. I don't know. I haven't heard of any recently, but I know you could go to the BFRO website and click on sightings by state, and you can see all the sightings, and there isn't really a lot of recent ones, even though, I mean, on BFRO there's not, but even though there is a lot of sightings, new ones that aren't on there that I know of, especially around here in California and Oregon and Washington. But as far as like, have I heard any recent ones? I haven't. I don't even know if there's even any there, really. I haven't really checked that area, Long Island. That's all the way across the world to me, pretty much. Like, what, 5 days journey? Yeah, so what'd you think about the baby? Huh? That to me that's interesting. Like, she said she had her period and there's a whole bunch of blood, so she didn't even, I guess her and the mother really didn't see the worm, you know. And then he goes out and goes to the part of the river where they dumped what they said was the blood, and then he has a worm. But by the time he gets back to the Aussie, the worm is already a baby girl, you know. And then they had another one, you know, like, I don't know how many days journey. I was counting one day, and I think it was like 5 times they stopped to rest, and then there was another baby. But then the next, you know, a couple of times more, then it was the baby was, there was one, you know, walking around, and then the other baby was crawling, and then the next time there was two kids running around. You know, it's like they're on growth steroids, right? It must be, you know, the acorns or something was, or you know, I just thought it was interesting how fast the growth rate. Now, if there's any truth to that, I know this is like a legend, and I know there's truth in some things, like maybe that they never see them, you know what I mean? And the other thing would be maybe they could read their thoughts, because he seemed to know that the mom wanted wood, and she wanted, you know, meat. So I thought that was really interesting right there. Called Snot. I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds pretty cool. Called Snot, huh? But only now the description of, I mean, he had to be, you know, like a giant, okay? Okay, an Aussie, I'm pretty sure that's like a teepee to them. You know, not, we're not talking about a door, you know, like a cabin or anything. I'm pretty sure it's a teepee, or like enclosure, or maybe a round dome kind of thing. I'll have to look that up, but I know it's not big. So, you know, when he's sleeping, he has to twist himself up in there, and his head is in the rafters, and his feet are in the rafters, right? Like, it might, like, he's really twisted up in there. It's a wonder he even could sleep, you know. That's interesting. That means he was really huge, right? A really huge thing. And then when they were in the cave, when he finally did go in the cave, the brother made it into the cave. When Tsul'kalu spoke, he called it a spirit. Did you notice that? Like, he didn't say the giant, or he said the voice came from the spirit out of the dark, and it was like, you know, a spirit, huh? So it could read your mind. It's huge. They have amazing growth, you know, growth, and and they're a spirit, you know. So, you know, like trying to figure out, I also wonder if there's other, you know, this is just one story of the Tsul'kalu. I wonder if there's more of them. And I know, like, I know this guy James Mooney. He's not alive now. This was written a long time ago. He's done past. There is a real Pigeon River though, for reals. There is. In fact, all the places, the geographic places that they name inside this book, even in all the myths and legends and everything, all of them are exactly geographic true. You know what I mean? Like you could go visit those places that there's no. That's the part of the story that's why you know that maybe there might be truth to it, because every geographic area they speak of in here is there. Even the mountain that I'm butchering when I say it, that's a real place too. Yeah, what is it? Tennessee Pigeon Forge, or I know, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but over there, there's a few things named Pigeon over there. I wonder if I'm now, you know, I wonder if there is some places like that, Cold Warrior, you know, named Hell's Gate or Devil Rock. I mean, like there over here, there's a Ape Canyon, you know, around Mount St. Helens. They have Ape Canyon, and then there's Ape Caves around Shasta and Hell's Kitchen and all kinds. I mean, there's some places. I wonder, you know, I'll have to look on the map. That's an interesting thing to think about. If there's anybody from that area that is listening or will listen in the future, put a comment and let us know about that. Why, thanks, Rex. I butchered most of them. Well, I butchered the mountain one. For all the other ones are easy, like the Aussie. You know, that was easy. You know, can't butcher that. And Tsul'kalu, I already heard that one a few times, even before I had this book. I had heard about him. Huh. What about Pigeon River, Ito? Is there a Pigeon River? Really, huh? Well, I know some of the peoples around here, they refer to the Bigfoot as the ancient ones, like they were here before they came. So like the Bigfoot was here in, you know, running around in the United States before the Indian even came here. And I don't know where they came from, but only when they showed up, there was a Bigfoot already, and giants too, red-haired giants. Yeah, so not so many questions, huh? If there wasn't any drawings, or I would put the camera to it. So the Pigeon River of western North Carolina and East Tennessee rises above Canton, North Carolina, is impounded by Walters Dam, enters Tennessee, and flows into the French Broad River just past Newport. Wow, that's some good stuff. Thanks, Ito. My brother, that is cool. You know what, Ito? I've been watching your YouTube games too. I've been enjoying those. I like watching you game. The Pigeon River in Ontario. Huh. I wonder if they're named after pigeons, like birds. I wonder if there's pigeons around it. It'd be interesting to know. Like, I wonder if that mountain that they named the, I'm not even gonna try to say it, but I wonder if the name of it has a meaning for the place where these spirit giants live. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes a lot of the names uh, have a meaning to them of like somebody that lives there or stuff like that. Hi, Roland and Jerry. How you guys? The Count du. Oh, that's like, I can't say that. That's French, right? I can speak every language but French. You know, and everything in here is French. And those are French words too. What I do know is I wish I saw a Bigfoot in the face, because the one I saw was a giant, and I didn't get to. I wanted to see its face so bad. I mean, I wanted to look in the scope and scope it so bad, but he moved so fast that I couldn't get him into the thing. And on that white Bigfoot that somebody, there's like a quick clip of a white Bigfoot. His eyes are kind of slanted, and I wish I could have saw the one I saw to see if it was had slanted eyes. Yeah, the Forest Ninja. I mean, he was huge. He was like a black lab. His fur was, and I was watching the Freeman video, and I'm pretty sure it's a female one that he was looking in the creek, and then when he's like, oh, it was fresh, and the you could even tell that it was, I guess it went to get water right there. It's like a little spring. Yeah, I have seen the red eyes, but only I'm not sure if what I was looking at was Bigfoot. We were, because there's like these little glowy lights and stuff like that in the woods. So I'm not, I don't know. Like, I've seen light shine, and but they stay out of range of us and our lights but only now. One of my really good friends, Joe Walls, he was on Monster Quest, and he claims the Bigfoot, and I believe him though. He says the Bigfoot, he sat down, was having a little snack. He was deer hunting, had an 8mm rifle, and he leaned it against the tree, ate a little snack. When he got done, he picked up his rifle and stood up and was standing, just standing there with his rifle, about to take a step. And a Bigfoot stepped out from behind a tree, like 6 feet in front of him. And he could see out of his peripheral vision, he was looking at the one standing in front of him and wasn't taking his eyes off him, and could have shot him because, I mean, he was ready. He was standing there. All he had to do was just whip his rifle around and shoot him. And he said all of a sudden it didn't have red glowing eyes, okay, but it turned its red glowing eyes on. And, it like froze him, kind of like, he was like stuck looking at that because it kind of shocked him because its eyes were glowing red. And he said it was really strong and buff looking, and out of his peripheral vision, or the corner of his eye, he could see 2 of them like sidestepping, with their back to him, like sneaking away. And once they were out of view, and I guess safe, according, the other Bigfoot that was glowing its eyes turned the glow off and then stepped behind the tree and disappeared. And he didn't see which way it went or anything. And then he just stood there for a few minutes, like he didn't know what to do. That was his first time ever seeing a Bigfoot. And he told that story on Monster Quest. I'm pretty sure you could find it, Yeah, he got the feeling that the red eyes were meant to like shock him or hold his attention and keep him standing there so the other two could get away. But he said he never felt threatened. Like he didn't feel like it was threatening him. He felt like it was warning him, right? He also says like he also, when we go out and sleep in tents, he brings a tarp and puts it over his tent, because he claims, like, he has a pacemaker, and he claims that they could see through the tent and they zap him with with the with their low frequency. I can't remember what they call it. It's like a low frequency wave, but they zap him with it, and it messes with his heart. And so he had this theory that they could see through the tent because they kept doing it all the time, and he could move inside the tent different places, and they could still, they still aimed it at him and got him with it. So he brought a tarp along and he covered the tent over. And ever since he started doing that, he hasn't been zapped by these guys. Infrasound, that's it. Thank you for that. But he said, that once he put that tarp over, he hasn't been zapped since. And then he was just telling me the other day in a comment on Facebook, like if you sit down, I guess he's up in Washington right now, and he'll be back down here this summer. He retired. He was a nurse at a prison, and then they deleted the position, and he transferred over to prison guard, or a CSO, whatever they call him. And now he retired like 2 years ago, and he decided, he sold his house and bought a little trailer and a 4-wheel drive truck, and he was going to go. He really likes looking for Bigfoot. He likes the Squatch a lot. I mean, all the time. He does it more than anybody I know, really. I mean, now he's over there, and he became a campground host in like real Bigfoot hot zones, so that he could, look for him and everything. And I guess he's had quite a few encounters this last year, and he would have like girlfriends or something like that while he was there, and they would go together, and he had, I guess, one of the women that he was with was really tight with the Bigfoot, and so they got right into the thick of him. And he's told me now, when you sit down and rest, or you're going to sit down for a little while and rest, urinate a big circle around you, and they won't cross that. That's what he told me. And then he get a little wink, on the Facebook, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, That's interesting. So they call, oh man, a mamongo is what they call the Bigfoots in the Philippines. On Mount Pinatubo. Mount Pinatubo, isn't that one's the one that's erupting right now? Oh, okay, the other one's erupting. The Mayan mountain. So are they big? Did you see, are they big? like real tall like the ones here, or were they smaller like the ones in Vietnam that I heard about over there? I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know if you eat asparagus, if it makes the pea stronger. I have no idea. But only it's like kind of like animalistic to to think that if you pee in a circle that it won't go through it won't go past that barrier. You would think that something that's smart as that thing is, that a little pea wasn't gonna stop it. You know what I mean? I still would be like not feeling that safe, in a circle of pee, you know. Man, I was just talking to somebody the other day. One of my friends is over, got married and is living over there, and he was saying he was seeing the UFOs going in and out of those volcanoes. And then I was asking Adolf. Adolf has a wife over there and a baby. And I was telling him about it. And he was saying, yeah, that when you're over there, a lot of people talk about it. It's like no big deal. It's pretty cool that UFOs going in and out of the volcanoes. Skinnier Bigfoots with long, sharp fingernails. Yikes. Man. Rex, that's funny, man. You need a big circle, huh? Be like me, I would too. I would want a big circle, like pee into a milk jug and carry it around and then go out there and make a big wide circle. In fact, when I put my sack lunch up and go to sleep at night, maybe I'll have one around the tent, my sack lunch, my tent. Their sack lunch, my tent. Put a big old ring all the way around it. That's interesting, Renee. Real interesting. Think it would pee on you? It might, huh? Come over and pee on your tent. In fact, I just was, I was looking through YouTube, and there was I saw a video pop up that said something about that Bigfoot peed on my tent or something like that. Oh man, marking his territory. He's like, this is my lunch. You bears and mountain lions and stuff, stay away from my lunch. Well, you guys, that was my bedtime story. If you got anything else, let me know. That would be his dessert. My buddy would be his dessert, Bring somebody with him. He has a 2-course meal. If there's 3 of us in the tent, it's 3-course meal. Sack lunch with the bananas. Because I always bring a bunch of bananas. So, he has fruit and a regular meal. Hey Adolf, what's happening, my brother? I'm just about to get out of here. I did a Bigfoot bedtime story for everyone. I thought it was like time to do one, and I found a book that I'd been looking for, and as soon as I found it, I thought, man, I'm going to come on and give everybody a good story, one that I enjoy, and it has a lot of interesting things to think about Bigfoot that you don't hear. You really don't hear those things when you talk to people or anything about. You do hear about the mind speak and stuff like that, but things like how fast they grow, or the baby is a worm. Like, you don't hear that, really. You don't. But it was interesting. And then we were just talking about the UFOs flying around those volcanoes over there in the Philippines, Mount Pinatubo, and what's the other one, Mayan Mountain or something like that. And we talked about that on our drive, about the UFOs going in and out of the volcanoes over there. Yeah, and they do it over here too, even in the ones that aren't even going off, but they do. Well, everyone, it's been fun. I hope you all enjoyed the story. Sorry I butchered all the Cherokee words. I promise that before I read another story out of the Cherokee or any other Indian legends, I will make sure that I can at least pronounce the words that I'm saying and know the meaning of it before I go off. I did this one on the fly, and I should have did it the right way. And I want to thank everybody for putting up with me butchering it. And then I want to thank everyone that has been putting money in my PayPal and stuff. You guys are so great, I mean, this time it really is coming in handy. My driver's license is up, and I didn't have the money to, re-up or, renew it. And I just about have enough now. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting me. If I want to support you guys, I guess the only way that I can is come and bring, come in and chat with you guys and tell bedtime stories and bring my research and travels and stuff to YouTube, and then I'll continue to do that. I enjoy doing that, and but only I really appreciate the help. Every little bit is a lot to me. It means a lot to me way deep inside. It means humans are real still. And don't forget, I'm praying for all of you guys all the time. And I pray the ones that support me by watching and also donating. I pray for abundant blessings on all of you, everyone that is within earshot, even the ones that come on later and hear this later. I pray abundant blessings on your life in every area right now in Jesus' name. So that I don't have much to give, but what I can give is that for sure. And I know it works. Prayer works. And if there's any sickness or disease, I pray that health, abundant health, comes over you, and all sickness and disease dies and goes back to where it came from and has no power on you at all. In Jesus' name. Yeah, I mean, I have a whole box full of books. I mean, in fact, Joe Walls, the one I was just talking about that gets sapped in the heart, he left me a box of books, and then my mom grabbed it. She read 2 or 3 of them there, from Autumn Williams and some other ones, and she grabbed that box, and I haven't seen it since. It's in her room somewhere, and she's reading all these Bigfoot books. And there's probably like 30 of them, and then there's Steve Quayle and all, whole on the giants and stuff. There's lots of stuff. So, but maybe I should go dig around in that book. That jogged my memory when you said that about all the books, because I may have duplicates of what you have in that box. And then I have a few more like quantum Bigfooting from, let's see, quantum Bigfooting, and then I have a couple of more over here I found today. But only they don't have cool stories to tell, like bedtime stories or anything. Okay, you guys. Well, good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. I hope you have sweet dreams about Tsul'kalu and his children and wife living in the mountain, playing drums and dancing all night. That's the way to go, huh? And y'all have a good rest of the weekend, and I won't bother you again until next week sometime. Good night.